and your attention to turn inwards. Whether your knees are bent or whether your legs are extended, take some time to really give the weight of your being into the support of your mat. And let that be an invitation to soften from this outermost layer of muscles, skin, tissue, so that there's a letting go from the outside to help reveal and connect more deeply on the inside. And as you take a few breaths here, just letting the richness of that movement of your breath in and out fill the space of your awareness. Allow a little bit of time to explore each of those 4 planes of the body. Taking a breath or two, inviting that movement to feel most present in the front plane of the body. Then, of course, taking a few cycles of breathing, connecting into the back and connecting into the sides, taking as much time as you need to explore. When we allow the shape change of our breath to flow into these various different places, we're really inviting our minds to understand that breathing is something that's dynamic and can be organized in many different ways. There's a process of stabilizing, a process of releasing, a balance of what in the Yoga Sutras would be sthira, steadiness, and sukha, ease or sweetness. It kind of defines how we are alive in our bodies. And taking all the time you need if you still haven't made your way through the 4 planes of the body, when you're ready, then start to add a little bit more conscious and active movement to your breath. As you breathe in, let the front body lengthen, let the low back rise up, going super slow, let your pelvis rock towards your toes. And gently root down through the bottom line of your hips, feeling your back contract, letting your belly, low belly, middle, upper belly, press up towards the sky a little bit. Let the contraction highlight for your mind the muscles in the back, and then slowly release that contraction. Let your mind be in control here of the process of allowing the back muscles to soften and lengthen until you've come back to a place that feels easy, no force from the front body. Then when you're ready, use your exhale to help you draw your low back down and to rock your pelvis towards you so that the front body is shortening and closing. Again, this might be a small movement, it might be a larger movement. Just make sure you're not forcing or pulling against tension in the body. Make the contraction conscious so that it's alive for your mind, and then slowly let it go. Unless something is present and conscious, we can't change it. So the work of pendiculation is to come into a place where we're aware of the work that we're doing and then let it go. We'll go back and forth for a couple cycles here, of course. As you breathe in, let the belly rise up, let the chest expand with your inhale breath. Pause here for a breath here and see if you can feel into the muscles along your spine. Can you feel how your back contracting tips your pelvis? How that contraction presses the belly forwards? And then very slowly let that contraction go. So you're coming down little by little by little by little by little. And take a moment just to feel that sense of release as you get all the way to 0 effort. And then reverse the shape. As the low back presses down, can you feel how pressing your low back down is related to contracting the belly? Well, pressing the low back down is really rounding the low back. And then slowly let that go. Give yourself 2 more cycles here. And as you play with these second 2 cycles, see if you can feel how rocking your pelvis is also rocking your skull. As the back arches, Your chin rocks in towards your chest. And as you release that contraction, let your head return to neutral as you let go from the back body. And as you round your low back and take it down towards the mat, feel how your head rocks again so that your chin reaches up towards the sky, shortening and contracting the upper part of the back of the neck. And as you let that go, of course, let your head rock as your pelvis rocks. Give yourself one more cycle here. Again, allowing these two shapes of the pelvis and the head to rock as you move. And as you finish the cycle that you're on, taking all the time you need to get there, pause just to rest. Before we shift our focus up into the shoulders, let's take one more movement really focused on the hips, and this time the side body. Letting the left knee just gently point up towards the sky, focusing on the right side. Start to rock your hips. Press the left hip down so that the right hip lifts up, and then slowly lower the right knee over towards the left big toe. Feeling the right side of the body get long, letting the hips, the low back rock as you lower the leg. And then letting the leg be a weight. Slowly lift the right leg back up by drawing the right hip towards the floor and lifting the weight of the leg back up towards the sky. Come almost, but not all the way up so that you're still holding a little of that load. And then slowly let that go. The side body lengthen, let the outer hip release, letting the hips rock, allowing the knee to come towards the left big toe. And we'll lift and lower a couple more times. As you explore this action, let the focus be on the right side of the body. So primarily in the side and in the low back on the right side. And of course, that's where you release from as well, to lower the leg and to allow the hips to rock so that the left hip goes down and the right hip rises back up. Give yourself one more cycle here. Again, as you lift, come only as far up as you need to feel that contraction in the right side so that gravity is still helping your mind to really pay attention to where you're contracting to make this action happen, so that you can let go of that contraction as you move back into this gentle twist. And as you finish, let the right knee lift back up, let the right hip come back down onto the mat, and take a moment just to rest. Notice the sensation in the right side. And we'll take that same movement pattern focused on the left side. So as you're ready, right hip will move down into the mat, left hip will rise up. Make sure you're rocking and rotating at the center. And then slowly let the left side lengthen to allow that left knee to come over towards the right. Again, only as far as you can without stretch or strain. And then start to lift that left leg up to draw the left hip back towards the mat. This is where you'll release from to lower. From those places that did the work of lifting, let go little by little by little until you've come back into your twist. Give yourself another 2 or 3 cycles here. Again, just playing with this gentle movement of lifting out of the rotation, feeling the contraction consciously, and then slowly releasing that contraction. Again, coming only as far into this twist as you can without stretch or strain and without letting the shoulder on the left side lift up away from the mat. If the shoulder lifts up, it basically means that the side body isn't lengthening, that that length is staying fixed and the shoulder is moving rather than the mind doing the harder work of figuring out how to let go of that unconscious tension. Give yourself one more cycle. And as you finish, of course, let that left knee come back up towards the sky. Again, give yourself a moment just to feel inwards through that left side. And then bringing our attention up into the arms and the shoulders, keeping your feet planted down on the mat in a way that feels restful for your legs. So somewhere with the heels kind of close in towards you, but not pinned up against your hips or so far away that you've taken your back into an arch. A place where you just feel released and soft through the center of the body. And then reach your arms up towards the ceiling so that your hands are stacked about over top of your shoulders. And we'll play with that pattern where we reach for a rope or something up above us. So as you feel ready, start to reach up with the left arm. And as you reach, see if you can feel the contraction through your chest. Your collarbone is lifting up as the arm extends up. Let the arm just be a weight as best you can. And then slowly release that contraction to let the shoulder, and of course, by extension, the arm and shoulder, come back down towards the mat. And then as you're ready, try the right. See if you can feel how there's a contraction in the chest and the belly to reach the arm towards the sky. And then release that contraction really slowly, resisting gravity until you've let go as much as you can, letting the shoulder melt towards the mat. We'll take a couple cycles going back and forth. As you reach up, pause for a moment with the arm extended and let that extra time in this shape help your mind to get clearer on where the contraction is so that you can release it as slowly and smoothly as you can. Let the shoulder release back down. No help from the back body. We'll go back and forth again for a couple cycles. And as you reach up on the right, give yourself a pause if you need to until your mind is conscious of how it's holding the arm up. And then release that contraction to lower the shoulder and the arm back down. Give yourself 1 or 2 more cycles to each side, depending on how quickly you're moving through your repetitions. And taking all the time you need to finish the cycle that you're on. When you're ready, let your arms come down by your sides. Take a moment just to rest and to feel. Notice whether there's a different sense of awareness in the muscles in the upper chest. So we'll add to that reaching action, connection down through the center of the body. And we're going to find that by pressing down into the left foot when we reach the left arm up and down into the right foot when we reach the right arm up. So as you're ready, take the arms back up into that same starting position. The hands balanced over top of the shoulders. Now see if you can begin with the foot. Press your left foot down. You'll feel the left hip start to lift up. And let that help you to reach the left arm up. Maybe it's even easier to reach a little further when you bring the whole body into this movement. And then slowly let go. As you let go, let both the hip come down and the shoulder come down. And then going to the right side, press the right foot down to reach the right arm as far up as you can. Notice how the back needs to let go and be broad, the chest and belly to contract. And then slowly release from the belly, from the chest, from the inner shoulder, letting the hip and the shoulder come back down. Give yourself 2 more cycles to each side here. Feel how the left side shortens and closes as you press the foot down and reach the arm up. And of course, let the shoulder and the hip soften apart as you release that effort. Same thing happens on the right. You might notice that the sides are quite different from one another. Make sure you're honoring what each side needs so that you aren't pulling against extra tension to try to make the 2 sides even with one another if they aren't. Let them become more even by contracting consciously and then focusing on releasing that contraction with no extra effort from the back body to try to pull them into balance. Finish the cycle that you're on. And then let your arms come down and rest, taking as long as you need to get there. And again, as you take a couple breaths here, let your body be soft, feel inwards. So we'll take one final arm pattern here. Let your arms come out towards the sides like a T position. And we'll play with the rolling of the arms. We're going to take a couple cycles with each arm individually so we can really be conscious on both sides. But we won't spend as much time with each arm separately as we sometimes do, so that we have a little more time to play with these shoulder mobilization activities and exercises. Starting on the left, turn the left palm down, turn the forearm, then turn the upper arm. Let that connect up into the shoulder. And let the ribs guide the shoulder towards the upper belly, closing that long line. And then slowly let that go. Letting the palm spiral back up, letting the arm re-extend. Give yourself 2 more cycles here playing with that action. Palm turns down. Let that spiral roll up along the arm until you've connected down into the center of the body. And then allow that contraction to go. Letting the shoulder and chest release and broaden, letting the arm re-lengthen again. Give yourself 1 more cycle here, rolling the palm down. See if your mind can start to really weave together this map that connects the hand with the center of the body through the front plane of the body. As you finish that cycle, give yourself a chance just to pause. And then once you've taken a breath or two, start to roll the left arm, staying on the same side, in the opposite direction. Palm will turn towards the top of the head. Outer arm will engage as you rotate the upper arm, and then connect into the upper back, feeling the shoulder blade pull in and down, finally all the way down into the low back. Again, arm shortens as things contract and lengthens as you release. Again, we'll take another 2 or 3 cycles here, externally rotating the arm. See if you can get the upper arm to move and let the back connect after you've brought awareness into the engagement of the arm. And then slowly let that contraction go. Give yourself 1 more cycle here. And letting your mind put the pieces together of this long line, reaching from the low back and hips all the way up and out through the fingertips. And as you finish, pause and rest. Notice the difference between the left shoulder and the right. And then, of course, finishing with the right side. When you're ready, start to turn the right palm down. Again, let the arm roll on the floor. Upper arm turns, then the shoulder starts to curl up, then the ribs start to pull down, linking the hand into the center of the body, and then releasing from the center of the body through the chest and inner shoulder, all the way out through the arm again. Again, we'll take another 2 or 3 cycles. Go slow enough that you can invite your mind to differentiate the various different parts of this movement. See if you can get the ribs to move. See if you can feel into the inner chest and the movement of the collarbone, the rotation of the upper arm, and of course the forearm and the hand. Just have 1 more cycle maybe. Bring the palm down, spiraling the arm inwards, and then releasing from the front body, letting the arm spiral back out. And give yourself a moment just to rest and feel. And of course, we'll take the arm in the opposite direction. I'll let the palm turn towards the top of the head. Again, see if you can get the lower arm, upper arm, then the shoulder and shoulder blade, and finally the long muscles of the back to connect. And then release gently, slowly along that same line, letting the arm re-extend. Give yourself 2 or 3 more cycles here. yourself one final cycle. And as you feel ready, pause and rest. Again, give yourself a moment or two just to feel. And then when you're ready, skipping our usual twisting and shoulder openers, roll yourself over to one side and make your way into a tabletop position. As you find your hands and your knees, we'll start with our cat and cow. And then once we've warmed up our spines a little bit, we'll focus that movement just on the shoulder blades. So as we usually do, once you've set your hands, once you've found a grounded connection for the outer rim of the palms, then let your tailbone reach down and working vertebra by vertebra up through your spine. See if you can send each vertebra up towards the sky. As much as you can, see if you can articulate each one of those connections. And then slowly release that effort, which of course comes from the front body, to come back to neutral. Reversing that shape, activate the inner thighs, hugging the lower legs in. Send the sitting bones back and apart. See if you can move from the sacrum, and then let each vertebra in the spine move forward. Again, feeling how that movement of the vertebra forwards comes from the back body contracting. And then, of course, let that contraction go as you come back to neutral. We'll go one more time in each direction. And tailbone reaches down. As you come into this rounded shape, especially if you've got tenderness or tension in the back, see if you can find the place in the front body that supports that space's release and very gently contract in that area. You're not trying to force a tight spot open, but to let it know that there's support coming back out as you're ready. And of course, as you reverse, maybe what's driving tension or tenderness is in the front body. Can you find the place in the back body that needs to contract to support release through the front body? And then make your way back to a neutral spine, a place where both the front and the back body feel long. We'll go side to side before we play with the shoulders. Draw the left hip up, left shoulder down. Again, as you arc into this C-like shape, see if you can feel each space along the side of the body gently contract and watch and breathe into the right side. And then to come back out, let the right side stay soft, release from the left, letting the left side get extra long. And then switching, right shoulder draws down, right hip draws up. Again, see if you can articulate through each of those connections in that right side, feeling it close, breathing into the left as it lengthens, and then slowly release from that right side, coming back to center. One more time to each side. Left shoulder draws down, left hip draws up, consciously bringing your attention into the left side so that you can contract it and so that you can release it. And then doing the same on the right. Bringing it into contraction and then letting that contraction go. So here's where we'll play with the first of our shoulder explorations. So we're going to stay in this tabletop position. When we move to cat and cow, the spine is moving, but the focus isn't really on what's happening in the shoulder blades. For this first play, we're really going to focus on the shoulder blades moving. There can be a tendency to try to cheat our ways out of this movement by bending the elbows. So first, have a look at your elbows and make sure they're roughly straight. How straight they need to be is really going to be determined by you, but we want to keep your arms in the same position. Now, push the floor away from you. And as you push the floor away from you, your back is going to rise up, but not into a full cat pose, like you're pulling your shoulder blades apart from one another. And now slowly let that go and let your shoulder blades glide towards one another, keeping the elbows straight. So we're going to try that action a couple of times. Press into your hands,
Pull the shoulder blades apart. So now the inner margins of the shoulder blades are moving away from each other towards the outside. And then release and let the inner margins of the shoulder blades move towards each other, towards the spine. Again, arms stay extended. One more time. Push the floor away and then slowly release. So we're going to take a moment to rest. Either sit your hips back towards your heels, coming into child's, if that's a comfortable place for you. Or if for whatever reason today child's is not a comfortable place for you, come to seated or whatever might be comfortable. Give yourself a couple moments to take the weight out of the arms so that you aren't putting extra strain into the wrists. And when you're ready, come back to tabletop position. Tuck your toes and come into downward facing dog. As you find your down dog, as always, see if you can connect into the roots of the legs, way up underneath the base of the rib cage. And from that connection with the psoas muscle, lengthen down and out through the sitting bones, and finally out through the legs, so that your legs have an anchor right up in the center of the body. Give yourself a breath or two here. We're going to walk in place a little bit. Let one knee bend, let the hips rock. Going back and forth here, letting opposite heel reach towards the mat. Left heel reaches towards the ground as the right knee bends. Left knee bends as the right heel reaches towards the ground. Give yourself one more cycle to each side. And then come forward to plank. So we're going to take one more of those explorations with the shoulder blades. You can either bring your knees down where we just were, or you can up the challenge a little bit by staying in plank pose. Both are the same action in the shoulders. There's just more weight if you take your knees off the mat. And we'll try that same action for 3 reps. So push with your hands into the floor, draw the shoulder blades apart, and then keeping the arms straight, slowly soften your heart towards the mat. You should feel a hollow come along the spine in between the shoulder blades. We'll do that 2 more times. Push with your arms, take the shoulder blades apart, and then sink with the back of the heart. Let the shoulder blades glide towards one another. One more time. Knees down, knees up, whatever's working for you. Take the shoulder blades apart, and then release the shoulder blades towards one another. And then lower your knees if you like. We'll come down onto our bellies. And as you come down, let your arms come by your sides. Take a moment just to rest. We'll take a couple of cycles of a baby cobra. So when you're ready, breathe into your belly. Let the belly press. Find that tiniest little bit of a back bend coming from that gentle contraction in the back muscles. And then when you're ready, letting the belly press down, let your shoulders come up away from the mat. Let the shoulder blades draw towards one another and move them down the back. So notice how this action makes the shoulder blades move in a similar way as the releasing step of those shoulder blade push-ups. Of course, come back down as you're ready. We'll take 1 or 2 more of those. Again, let the belly press. Let the shoulders rise. The shoulder blades move in and down the back. Maybe the legs come up. And then slowly release, coming all the way back and down. And then when you're ready, bring your palms underneath the shoulders and make your way back into downward facing dog. Find that super long line for the legs. And then see if you can create a super long line for the arms. Let the ribs rise up a little bit. Let the inner shoulders lift up so the armpits are hollow. And then from the upper back all the way out through the arms, reach. Let the shoulder blades rotate to extend the arms fully. And use those long roots of the legs to take the hips up and back. So you're providing lots of space in the center of the body. Then at the bottom of your next exhale, walk your feet up to meet your hands. Find a forward fold. Moving with your breath. Take your hands to your knees, extend long through your spine. With your exhale, bow and fold. Again, we'll take 2 more cycles as you inhale, extend. And as you exhale, fold. One more time with your inhale, extend through your spine. And as you exhale, bow your way down in. And take your hands to your hips, either coming up in one piece or rolling up, whatever feels right today. Come all the way up to stand. And as you come to stand, release your arms down by your sides and playing with those breathing spirals in the arms. As you exhale, let your chest sink back and let that rotate the arms so the palms turn back behind you, closing through the chest. And as you breathe in, come back up to stand. Moving in the opposite direction, let the shoulder blades draw back and down. Feel how that rotates the palms out, taking a little standing back bend. And then release to stand tall. Give yourself one more cycle in each direction. Let your breath go, sinking the heart back behind you. And then release that press to come back to stand. Then take your sternum, your heart forward. Feel how that externally rotates the arms. And then release back to standing. So we're going to take one more of those shoulder mobilization activities, exercises, from standing. So when you're ready, take your arms up into a cactus position. So elbows are going to be bent, fingertips are going to be roughly pointing up towards the sky. Elbows are going to be kind of the height of your shoulders. And then see if you can reach your upper arms apart from one another. As you reach your upper arms apart, gently draw your shoulder blades towards one another and a tiny bit down. So you should feel some fiery energy in your upper back. So now we're going to bring the elbows and the pinky sides of the fingers together in front of our bodies, or as close as you can come to that. The arms are going to rotate around towards the front until the elbows and the little fingers are touching if you can, or hugging in towards one another if you can't. If you still have a little deeper to go, keep the elbows and the pinkies touching and lift your elbows up a little higher. Now, check in with your legs. I noticed I took my ribs way forward when I did that. See if you can reach down from that upper anchor of the legs below the ribs as you lift the elbows and the hands up. And then gently release, take the arms back out towards the sides and release your hands down by your sides. So we're going to do that 2 more times. When you're ready, inhale the arms back into that cactus position. Staying strong with the legs, reach out through the elbows and the upper arms, and then bring the elbows and the little fingers together. Again, staying steady with the legs. Maybe the elbows and the arms move up. If you still need more, keep the elbows together and take your hands apart. That's going to externally rotate the upper arms. That makes it a lot harder. And then release, the hands come back together, take the elbows back out to the sides, and bring them down by your side. So either rest or take one more. As I said, we may each have a threshold for these. Our aim is going to be 3 or 4. So arms are going to come back up into that cactus position, reach through the elbows. Again, our goal is stability in the shoulders. So we're trying to bring conscious attention to what muscles we need to use to come into these shapes. Again, the elbows maybe lift up, maybe the hands come apart, adding external rotation in the upper arms. And then release. The arms come back out towards the sides. Awesome job. And let the arms come down by your sides. Whew. When you're ready, use your inhale to take the arms up. And as you exhale, bring your hands down through center, come down into your forward fold. Take your hands to your knees as you inhale, extend, half foot back. As you exhale, bow and fold. Take your hands to your hips, inhale back up to stand. Release your arms by your sides, this time adding in the arm spirals as you exhale. Rotate the arms, sink your chest back behind you. Keep the ribs back, lengthen down through the low belly to untuck your pelvis, up through the upper back, hips under the ribs, shoulders on top. Then let the arms rise. And as you exhale, come down through center, find your forward fold.
Take your hands to your knees, extend long. And then bring your hands down onto the mat. Make your way back, downward facing dog. Come forward to plank. And all the way down onto the mat. So we're going to take one more shoulder exercise. Again, at any point, if these feel like too much, please do less. So this is going to be like what we often play with, moving the arms in a cobra pose-like shape. We're going to move them in some pretty specific ways so that we can highlight different muscles around the shoulder joint. So we're going to start, of course, face down, and we're going to bring our arms down by the sides with the palms facing down towards the mat. So this is what is often called Shalabhasana, locust pose, where we lift the arms and lift the legs. So to start, lift your legs up a little bit, leave them down if it feels like too much, and then lifting your chest, lifting your hands, reach the shoulder blades towards one another and down the back. So this is going to be our first position. We're going to hold here just for a breath. Now, start to rotate your arms so your thumbs point up and your palms face forward. So this is going to be position 2. Thumbs are going to go up, palms are going to face forward. Now, as if you were swimming, sweep your arms forward until they reach straight out in front of you. Again, palms are going to be facing up. Thumbs are going to be facing up, palms facing towards one another. Now, rotate your arms. The palms are going to turn towards the floor, thumbs towards one another. And then maybe thumbs turn down, palms face out. Pause here for a moment. Now sweep your hands back like you were swimming. They're going to come back to the starting position, but now with the palms facing up. If you can, lift your arms higher. Last thing here, bend your elbows and let your hands either hover over your low back or by your sides, whatever's comfortable for you. Give yourself a breath and then come all the way down and rest. Whew. Take a moment just to breathe. So we're going to take that cycle one more time. Again, the invitation is, of course, to take that cycle, but if things are really intense, please know that you can always do less. So when you're ready, soften through the front body, start to lift the legs, start to lift your chest, shoulders draw towards one another and down, palms face towards the mat. Give yourself a moment here, palms down, thumbs are facing to the outside. Then start to rotate the arms. Palms face forward, thumbs face up. Then once you've taken a pause there, sweep the arms forward. Thumbs face up, palms face towards one another like you were flying through space. Now rotate the arms so the palms turn down, and then keep going in that direction. Thumbs face down, palms face out. Now sweep the arms back towards your hips, palms face up. Lift the arms a little higher if you have the space to do so. Now bend the elbows. Let the hands hover over your back or over the sides of your hips. And then release. Give yourself a moment just to rest. And then when you're ready, either come to child's pose, taking your hips back towards your heels, particularly if your arms need a rest, or to downward facing dog. We're going to stay in whichever one you've chosen for 3 or 4 breaths. So if that's dog, great. Use the strength of the arms and the legs so that you're softening and lengthening from the center. If it's child's, same idea. Reach the heels and the sitting bones towards one another. Lengthen through the top of your head, taking the arms into whatever position feels restful for you. Give yourself a final breath in whichever position you've chosen. And then walk your feet up to meet your hands. So of course, dog, that's easy. If you're in child's, make your way into a forward fold in whatever way feels good to you. So now taking something that's more about flexibility, more about stretching, take your hands back behind your hips and interlace your fingers. Take your shoulders towards your ears.
Let the shoulder blades move towards one another and keeping a little bend in the elbows so your shoulder blades stay attached in the upper back. Start to lift your hands up away from your hips. You can either keep your spine parallel or you can bow forward, but make sure the shoulders don't dive. Notice how here you're using the connection of the arms and gravity to draw the arms more deeply into the stretch. So this is more about flexibility, less about building that strength and mobility in the arms. Bend the right knee, rotate your chest so the right shoulder and right knee come towards one another. Anchor the inner edge of the left foot down, draw up from the arch through the inner thigh to release along the outer hip and thigh. Then come back to center, bend the left knee, rotate your chest. Again, anchoring the center of the heel and the big toe, draw up from the arch into the center of the body. And then come back to center and come all the way up to stand. Nice work. Releasing your hands with your exhale. Rotate the arms, sink your chest back. Feel the ribs shift back in space so the back is long. Now lengthen the front body. Low belly softens to reach your pubic bone down. Chest softens, side body softens to let your spine extend up. And then take the arms to the sky. Catch a hold of the right wrist and the hips to the right, upper body towards the left. As you arc into this shape, hug in with the legs, root the feet down, and think about extending down through your legs and up and out through the top of your head. Come back up to center. When you're ready, switch the clasp. Hips will go left, of course, upper body right, or whichever way is opposite for you. Notice how it can be easy to collapse here. Integrate the center. Root down through your feet, climb up through the top of the head so that you're extending and supporting yourself as you ask the left side to lengthen. And come back up to center. And as you exhale, come down into your forward fold. Take your hands to your knees, extend your spine. And then bring the hands down, make your way back, downward facing dog. And then from down dog, take your right foot forward so that you're in a low lunge. Hug in with the legs. See if you can create those extra long roots of the legs way up into the center of the body so that the tops of the thighs and the sitting bones are back. Stability is happening from deep in the center rather than from gripping through the belly or the back. And when you're ready, start to rise up. As you lift, again, see if you can find that high connection and use that to organize the alignment of your hips and the steadiness of the legs. And then let that be a support for the arms as you take them up towards the sky. Keeping that connection from the center down into the ground, let your hands come down in front of you. And as you're ready, add a twist. Again, let that be any amount of twist that's right. It could be elbow across, but it also might be the hand across, or it might just be rotating through the chest. See if you can maintain that reach of the legs, connection and awareness of the legs deep up into the center of the body, and let that allow there to be more movement through the ribs because you've got more support and steadiness integrating the center. We'll be here a last breath. And then release the hands and switch to the second side. Nice. Again, as you get that left foot forward, find that connection with the legs. See if you can feel how creating that anchor helps you to get more integrated at the hips, again, to support and steady the legs. And then as you're ready, start to rise up. Letting the upper body be buoyant, lower half of the body be grounded, let the arms rise. And as you feel ready, letting the hands soften down in front of you, letting the shoulders be released as much as you can here. Let the rotation come from the center. Exhale your way around. Ooh. Letting the elbow come across to the outer edge of the knee or taking any arm variation that feels right. Resist the tendency to lever. Lengthen through your spine, especially from those roots of the legs up underneath the diaphragm, and let that provide the space into which to rotate. Again, we'll be here a couple of breaths. And release the hands. Those look gorgeous. And make your way back, downward facing dog. As you're ready, take the right foot forward. This time we'll bring the left heel down, back arch or back heel in line with the front heel. And when you're ready, come up into warrior two. Let the arms reach towards the top and the bottom of the mat and check in with that front knee. Make sure it's stacked over the ankle and aiming out over the second toe. We'll move back in space. So when you're ready, let the left hand come down onto the left leg. Right arm rises up towards the sky. Take a moment to reach your arms in opposite directions here. Just feel that movement through your body. And then maybe let that back leg carry a little weight if you need to as you come into whatever amount of back bend is right here. Let the right heel press down as you reach out through the right fingers. And come back to center. And bring the right forearm down. Let the left arm rise up towards the sky and rotating the whole arm. Let the upper arm turn, then let the shoulder blade glide and rotate so that reaching through the arm is allowing movement from the back, from the sides, from the chest for the shoulder blade, the collarbone. Reach down through the outer edge, of course, of that left foot, extending that long line. And then bring your hands down onto the mat and switch to the left side. Again, have a glance at your feet. Make sure you've got the legs coming into the same plane. And then as you're ready, start to rise up, warrior two. Again, see if you can find that connection for the legs. I know for me with my tighter left side, really getting that sense that my legs begin up in the upper belly, really at the spine, behind the upper belly, and reach down helps me to be more conscious of letting go and softening where I need to in the outer hips. We're gonna move back in space. Again, first we're gonna take the right arm down, left arm up, and we're gonna reach through the arms in both directions. And then maybe move back a little further. Maybe you use the hand on the thigh, maybe not. Again, rooting the left foot down as you reach through the left fingers makes things a little more intense through the sides and the hip flexors. And then come back up to center and come forward. Left arm moves down, right arm moves up. Again, rotate the whole arm and then lengthen from the back, from the side, from the chest. Let the whole shoulder girdle be a part of this movement. Give yourself a breath or two here. Bring your hands down onto the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. And then walk your hands to meet your feet so that you're in a forward fold. Cross your right leg back behind the left. Maybe bringing the little toes next to one another, maybe taking a little more space between the feet and ground that right foot down. So you're going to take the base of the big toe, the center of the right heel, and anchor them into the mat, lifting the toes if you need to. And then wrap the left leg around, grounding the left foot down as well. The more you root through that right foot as you anchor the left foot down, the more expansion you'll feel along the outer edge of that right thigh and hip. And then bring the feet back to parallel. And as you're ready, switch. Left foot will go back behind the right. Again, toes could be next to one another. There could be space between the feet, whichever feels right. But anchor the foot. See if you can get the three corners. Base of the big toe, center of the heel, base of the little toe, first on the left foot, and then on the right foot. And again, let reaching down through the legs help you to open and soften along the outer edge of that left hip and left thigh. And then bring your feet back to parallel. And from here, we'll come either into thread the needle, into the standing figure four variation, or into pigeon, taking the right shin forward. Again, choose one of those variations, whichever one feels like the right one for you today. And we'll make our way in. So if you're standing or into the needle, right ankle will come to the left knee. If you're in pigeon, right shin will come forward. Get active with your feet here. See if you can draw up from the arches as you lengthen down from the roots of your legs so that you've created integrity in the center of the body. And then let that be dynamic. If you're coming down onto your forearms in pigeon, allow yourself to come forward with the upper body. If you're inviting the legs in and thread the needle, or sitting the hips back into the standing figure four variation. See if you can do those things while continuing to find that visualization or sense of presence of the connection of the legs up into the belly so that you can really take the tops of the thighs away from your shoulders. It's going to take your sitting bones towards the mat, even as you invite your knees to come in towards you. So the stretch here happens even though the right leg is externally rotated. And the release is in the external rotators, which means it comes by folding at the hips. In order to really activate that action, we need the tops of the thighs to be softening away from the belly, the sitting bones to be melting back behind us. Give yourself a last breath or two. Again, of course, if there's variations that you like, please feel free to add them in. And let's start to gently release. And as you make your way to the other side, taking all the time you need to get there, left shin will come forward if you're in pigeon, left ankle will come to the right knee if you're in one of the other two variations. And again, get connected. See if you can trace from the arch of your foot through the deep front line all the way up into the anchor of the legs. So that from the center of the body, through all of the different pieces that make up the system of the legs, there's a sense of integration and connection. Whew. Drawing the legs in or coming towards your forearms. My hips are really tight today. Feel your way in towards whatever the right amount of intensity is in this shape. See if you can maintain that sense of connection, of having placed the pieces in an intentional way, and allow that to guide how you invite your body to release tension, to unfold some of those tight places. And we'll be here for another 4 or 5 breaths. Feel free to add in any movements or variations that you know and love. And as you feel ready, start to make your way back up. And from here, we're going to come either to sit, if that's a comfortable place for you, or to stand if sitting brings some tension into the center of the body. So we can play with one more shoulder exercise. In fact, rather than having sitting be an option, let's all come to stand. Roll yourself over to one side, make your way up to stand. Again, find a place where you feel like you're standing evenly on your feet with a connection up into the center. A lot of being able to move in the shoulders is finding connection in the center of the body. So let what you do with your legs not be extraneous to the shoulders, but be the foundation for the shoulders and the neck so that these spaces can release onto that stability. So our final movement that we're going to play with is the active version of when we try to bind our hands back behind us. So in order to catch the fingers, we're moving in that direction of flexibility rather than mobility. So rather than bringing our hands together, we're going to focus on bending the elbows. So our hands are going to move back behind us. And rather than trying to touch the hands, we're going to try to keep our hands from touching our backs. So it's going to look like this. Let's start by taking the right arm up, the left arm down. And then you're going to reach just as we were doing in our reverse warrior. Now, keeping this gentle reach, start to make just closed hands. You don't need to squeeze your fist, but get your fingers out of the way. And now bend the elbows.
And your hands are going to move back behind you. You're not going to force them. They're going to come only as far as you can using your muscle strength. And you're going to try to keep your hands from touching the back. And then you're going to release. Take the arms back up, take them out to the sides, and then switch. Left arm goes up, right arm goes down. Bend at the elbows, hands move back behind you. Again, if you can, they don't touch. Only as far as you can with strength. And then release. Arms go out to the sides. We're going to do that one more time. Right arm goes up, left arm goes down. Again, reach. Bend at the elbows as you're ready. See if you can keep the hands hovering away from the back. Release. Arms go out to the sides. Reverse. Left arm goes up, right arm goes down. Again, reach the arms in opposite directions. Then bend at the elbows. The hands hover. Release. Ooh. Let the arms come out towards the sides. With your inhale, take them up. With your exhale, come down into your forward fold.
And as you forward fold, if you would like, take your hands to your elbows. Let your head, your upper body hang, maybe even taking the feet a little wider apart, bending the knees, and maybe sway a little bit with the upper body. We're just trying to provide a sense of length and release from the upper back, from the shoulders, down towards the elbows, top of the head. Just taking a moment or two here. And then as you feel ready, release your hands. And let's take one more release for the hips. Making your way down into a tabletop position. As you feel ready, step the right foot forward. We're going to come into lizard, so the right foot's going to come a little wider. If your knee needs padding, please feel free to put something underneath it or to start with the knee lifted. Both hands are going to come to the inside of the right leg. And then connecting the legs back into the center, hug your right knee towards your right shoulder. Reach the right hip back behind you. Again, we're creating that connection for the legs up underneath the rib cage. And then keeping this rootedness for the hips, come up onto your fingertips and walk the hands forward while you keep that knee at 90 degrees and the hips reaching back. Again, finding lizard, bowing in towards the inside edge. If you'd like, you can experiment with a second arm variation, which is letting the forearms come down onto the mat. Can be a little deeper in the hips, but it's a little softer for the shoulders. So if your shoulders are feeling worked, feel free to let the elbows soften down. And then start to make your way back to table, letting the hands come in, taking that right foot back. And switching to the second side, left foot will come forward. Again, both hands will come to the inside of the left leg. Left knee will hug in, left hip will reach back. Again, see if you can find that sense of presence up at that anchor of the legs, letting that help you to square, help you to connect at the hips, coming up onto the fingertips. As you're ready, letting the hands make that journey forward or bowing towards the inside, letting the elbows come down towards the mat. Again, both are similar ways to allow the upper body to come down towards the inside edge of that left leg. We'll be here a breath or two. Start to make your way back out again. And then focusing a little more on release, a little less on strength. Bring your forearms down onto the mat once you've come to table. Flip the palms up, let the little fingers and the elbows come together to touch or as close as they can, comfortably for you. And press the elbows in and down while you broaden your collarbones apart. You should feel your upper arm bones rotate so that you're broad across your chest. Taking the knees a little further back behind your hips and making sure your ribs, if you're a rib poker as I am, don't collapse down. Stabilize your center just a little bit. So again, you can find that connection of the legs up underneath the arch of the diaphragm. And if you like, sit your hips a little further back. Think about creating a long, long line from the back, wrapping around into the upper arm bones, and then out through your fingertips, making the palms face as much towards the sky as you can. And start to make your way back up again. And we'll come down onto our backs. We did a lot of work in the shoulders, so we're gonna skip an active back bend. If you feel like you need a back bend in your practice, the invitation will be there to use a block or some other kind of support for a part of your Shavasana. And when you feel ready, bring your right knee in towards you, bringing your hand onto it. Let your left leg extend out long along the mat. Taking a little time here, letting the legs move in opposite directions from one another. And then when you feel ready, interlacing your hand back behind the right thigh, pressing your thigh into your hands, really focusing on reaching that right sitting bone and right heel into one another. And then keep that connection, send the sole of the foot up towards the sky. And first find a sense of extension as well as engagement through the upper part of the back of the leg. And then once you've taken a couple breaths there, if you'd like, you can add that circling for the foot and the ankle, releasing through the lower leg. Of course, taking the time to go in both directions. And then turning this into a twist, either bending the knee, reaching up to catch the toe, switching the strap over into the other hand, whatever version works for you. Start to allow that right leg to come across and over. As you find your twist, see if you can let the bottom hip gently press down to help support the right hip stacking on top of the left. And let the leg rise back up and release your foot down onto the mat. Take a moment just to notice how are things on that right side. And when you're ready, invite the left knee in. Again, letting the weight of your hands melt it towards you, but really focusing on lengthening from the connection of the legs up in the center, down through the sitting bones, down through the legs, with a softness at the front of the hip and deep in the belly. And then once you've taken the legs in opposite directions for a breath or two, then switch the clasp of the hands behind the thigh. Push your thigh into your hands again. We're aiming to create engagement in the back of the leg and then extension as well. Reaching up through the sole of the foot as you press your thigh into your hands. Again, taking a couple breaths, really just focusing in the hamstrings. And once you've taken a couple breaths there, keeping that engagement as best you can. If you like, circle the foot and the ankle. Of course, taking the time to go both directions. And then bringing that to stillness, setting yourself up for your twist. Letting the leg come across, whether the knee is bent or the leg is extended. And just as you did on the other side, letting the shoulders remain grounded as best you can, and maybe pressing that right hip down to invite that left hip to stack so that your spine is staying centered in your body. You're bringing a little bit of movement into as many spaces in the spine as you can. Let the leg rise back up. Release that left leg down onto the mat. And then taking one more stretch for the shoulders, moving in the direction of flexibility rather than mobility. Make sure that your right shoulder is going to stay on the mat. So I need to shift myself over towards the left a little bit. And letting your right arm be in line with your shoulder. So your arm is extending straight out towards the right. Start to roll yourself towards the right. So you're going to bring your chest onto your upper arm. And as you roll, of course, here the floor is assisting in this stretch. You might come so that your belly and your chest and your thighs are entirely facing down towards the mat, or that might be too far for you. Come only as far as feels good. And you should feel a sense of lengthening and stretching, of course, from the outer arm across the shoulder and into the upper back. Press your arm into the floor a little bit if you want to deepen that sensation. And let gravity invite the left side of your body to rotate down towards the ground. Adding one more stretch here. Tuck your right thumb into the palm of the hand and gently wrap your fingers around it so you're making a smooth face to the top of your fist. Using your left hand for support so it'll be up at the top of your mat. Lift your head. And then bending at the elbow, take your right fist towards your right shoulder. So you're going to bend the elbow as much as is comfortable. Let the thumb side of the right hand come down towards the mat in front of your shoulder, and maybe let your chin rest down onto your forearms. So again, we're just trying to release into some of those places that we worked a little bit intensively. See if you can press the right elbow down towards the mat and the right fist down towards the mat. Give yourself a breath or two here. You should feel some broadening across the top of the shoulder and the upper back. And then start to gently unwind. First, let the arm re-extend, and then slowly make your way over onto your back. We have one final side to take for that stretch. Again, adjusting your position on your mat if you need to so that your shoulder ends up with the softness of your mat underneath it. Let the left arm extend. Again, palm will be in line with your shoulder or maybe a tiny bit higher, but definitely not closer down towards your side. And then turning yourself towards the left, start to roll over until you've brought as much of the front side of the body down towards the mat as you can. So that might be a little, or you might be able to turn all the way to face towards the mat or somewhere in between. Again, as you arrive, gently engage with the floor. Press the left arm towards the mat as you allow the right side of your body to be heavy towards the mat. Again, we'll be here for a couple breaths. And then when you feel ready, tuck the left thumb into your palm, wrap the fingers around it. So you're making a gentle fist here, just getting the thumb out of the way so you've got a flat side of your fist to come down towards the mat. And using the right hand for support, lift your head so that your arm can travel underneath it. And bring the left fist, thumb side down, towards the mat. And maybe allow your chin and the weight of the head to rest down onto your forearms. As best you can, let the forearms be stacked on top of one another. There's two bones in the lower arm. Let them be stacked, vertically aligned. And again, if you have the space for a little more intensity, pressing the elbow down as you press the fist down will invite a little bit more opening across the upper part of the shoulder. Give yourself a last breath or two. Let's start to gently release again. First, unfold the arm. And then ease your way over onto your back. And from here, we'll make our way towards Shavasana. So, of course, if there are last movements your body wants, or if you'd like to use a block to take a supported back bend, if you're using the block, you're going to place it across the base of your shoulder blade tips. Or if you have a preferred block variation, of course, taking that. And letting the base of your rib cage soften into the edge of the block and your shoulders come down towards the mat. Letting the block support the lift for the center of the chest. As much as you can, let this be about the upper back and not the lower back if you're using the block to take a back bend. As you feel your way in, as you arrive, you can remove the block at any time if you're using it. And feel your way
in towards the center by connecting to your breath. See if you can allow yourself to be breathed, to soften so deeply that that movement originates as if from some other force. And anytime you need to, anytime your thoughts pull you towards the future or the past, see if you can notice that thinking and invite your attention back to the flow of your breath. Very, very sweetly start to deepen your breathing. Let your breath bring you back towards the surface. Bring a little gentle movement back into your body, wiggling your fingers and your toes. And as you feel ready, let that expand in any way that feels right, moving from the inside back up. And bend your knees. And taking all the time you need to get there, make your way over onto one side. And use your hands to help you to come up to sit. Sitting in any way that feels good to you. Once you've found a comfortable seat, let your hands come together in front of your heart and take a moment to bow your head in. Thank yourself for making time to practice. And then bring your thumbs to your third eye. Then bow forward to close your practice. Namaste.